Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this special edition episode. Today, I am here with Astrologer Gemini Brett and with Erik Deutsch, who you're going to meet later. But we are talking today about the song of your soul. So, your chart actually in music. And I am so excited to be having this episode. This is something that I have known Brett has been working on for a while, and it has recently really come to life for me. And I think for all of you too, especially any of you who have been in Rick Levine's Astrology Foundations course. He talks so much about the hum of your chart and the music of the spheres. So today we're going to be talking about how your chart literally can be composed into a musical piece. And I'm very excited to do that with all of you. Before we go into that, I just wanted to make sure that you knew about our panel event that is happening this week. It's our 2021 forecast panel. It's entirely free. It's going to be featuring 12 different astrologers and looking forward into 2021, getting their take on the most important transits, the themes, the things we're going to be working with. So it's going to be a very exciting event that we would love to have you at. And then in an effort to do a little bit of reflection here at the end of the year, we have just started a Astrology Hug Challenge, which is an opportunity for you to take a little time and reflect on the way that astrology has helped you in 2020. And we made a little game out of it. And when you post your reflection online and do a few things, which I'll tell you how to do all the rules, you're eligible to win some prizes. So we have an Inner Circle 1-year Inner Circle membership that we are going to be giving away. We have 3 people that will be able to choose from any Astrology Hub course of their choice. And we have 6 people who will be getting a destiny and character personalized written report. So lots of really fun things to give away, but really all in an effort to just encourage this reflection period here at the end of the year. So if you want to participate in that, all you have to do is go to either Instagram or Facebook. Go to our Instagram or Facebook, astrology.hub on Instagram, Astrology Hub on Facebook, and look for the post that talks about the 2020 Astrology Hug Challenge. And then all the instructions are there. So we'd love for you to participate in that as well. Brett, it's so great to be here with you. Thank you so much. I've really, really been looking forward to this opportunity to make this whole idea of a chart in music come to life for people so they can actually experience it. And it's not like an intellectual idea. It's actually something that they can feel. So thank you for being with us.
My treat. I mean, that's the point of this in the first place, right? So let me offer an astrology hug from my realm. I mean, astrology has helped for me. I mean, not only has it been a wonderful year to teach astrology and to be an astrological counselor, because it's crazy and people are really excited to drive a little deeper into their own, shadow and all that. But it's been nice to know something was coming and not be shocked. Yeah. That being said, where I feel astrology can be challenging is, oh, it's not over until this date. We need this to happen and that to happen. And how could that go? Right. And so I can get personally very mental in not only my astrological approach, but in life and everything. And this project, Song of the Soul, was very much born out of one of my general devotions, which is for myself and also for the people that I have the honor of counseling, teaching, guiding, whatever it may be, to have more of a sensual experience of astrology. So one of the ways that I serve that devotion is to bring people outside or encourage them to get outside and get off the small screen and into the big screen out there, right? And have a living sky practice and an embodied, sensual, kind of juicy experience of the heavenly happenings in the moment. Another way, in a kind of traditional way, is talismans, right? Like bringing the heavenly happenings of moments into matter through magical practice. And we each are our own best talismans, But I teach often with the compass and the square, the sacred geometry, which is known to be a sister science of astronomy and therefore correspondences, and also through musical harmony. And it's been a wonderful way to offer people an experience of their chart, or a chart. Like Erik and I just did one for the first time for the moment two lovers met. Right. So how does
That's amazing.
I'm like crying. It was such an honor, right? It's like such an honor. And instead of, let's just say, okay, well, this is what the relationship's going to be about, and this is its archetypal intentions and the things that we do with an astrology chart, which are great, right? But it's kind of, it tends to play up here in the mind, and then the mind can be a route to the heart if we're using astrology as a way in instead of a way out, right? That's good astrology, right? So don't avoid the pain, right, by like just going up into the mind and the charts, but come into it, and in that tunnel we'll also find our great passions and joys and pleasures, right? That's astrology, as Astrology Hub offers it and brings in practitioners who I know like have hearts that beat to that drum, right? But this sensual approach, it's lay down, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and hear the heavenly harmonies as they were aligned in the moment of your birth, and now access that heart and that spirit through your body, right? And next time you listen, get up and dance. Yeah.
Brett, the first time I actually got to hear one of these soul songs was recently when you were in Hawaii. We were sitting at dinner, and this music came on, and it was so beautiful. And like, I felt it so deeply inside of myself. And I remember saying to you, like, what is this? Where is this music? And you said, well, this is Anna's chart. Anna, who is Brett's partner, who is one of my dearest friends on the planet, who works at Astrology Hub, who does all of our graphic design and brings astrology through the visuals. I was listening to her song, and it was so beautiful. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is incredible to be able to even experience another, a loved one through the music of their chart. There's a deeper level of appreciation of who they are and the journey, because that's the cool thing about the music that you and Erik are creating. It's not just like a flat piece. It actually brings you through a journey that correlates. Like, you can feel the correlation between the music and the things that the person goes through, and the challenges and the conflicts and the joy and the growth, and all of it is all infused into a musical piece. And it's just, whoa, mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, not your standard like piano music to listen to as you dine, right? Because there are challenging parts of it, and but that's true. Like, every good song has tension. Like, we purposefully, musically utilize the essence of tension to assist beings to feel sacred resolution, right? I mean, you can go, for example, to the sound healing place and the crystal bowls are humming and it's all consonant and lovely, and there's a feather bed for your troubled head. And then they hit the one that's like, and the healing starts, you know what I mean? And things move, and it gets just cathartic and somatic, and the tears come, and we don't even know why. And as long as you don't question, they will flow, and it goes. And then it comes back into that harmonic, peaceful resonance. And, we're on the other side of this thing. And really, that's charts. I mean, some charts are more challenging than others. And one of, I think, the high fives to our approach is that you can hear that in the song. And, I don't sit with anybody who has just like a very easy chart, because I don't think they're coming to astrology.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, right. We need some challenges in our life to respond to, because the response, these great questions, why, that we don't typically ask until we're forced to, that typically is built out of some tension. And then it offers on the other side, like, greater resolution than is possible, right? So one of my favorite stories about these things, and there's many now, we've done almost 100, I think. For the holidays last year, I gifted like my whole family soul songs from Erik. And so at Christmas Eve dinner, I played them all, and I didn't tell anybody whose song was whose, and we were guessing, right? And so we're eating, it's like a new song's coming out. Okay, whose song is this? And at one point, my nephew, Kyle, he's like, oh, that's Whitney's, his sister. And I said, just wait, because everyone was guessing like the first 10 seconds of a 12-minute song. And then at one point, he's like, dude, that's like the song I hear in this nightmare I have again and again, right? Like this one little tricky part in the middle of the song. Wow. That's your song, buddy. And it really felt good, because I think that was a testament to this project that maybe in this way, somatically, we can get into some spaces that it's even hard to reach through the mental approach, right? The defenses are really well, tuned to defend ourselves against the words that want to get in and probe and whatnot. And then, the hope would be that if Kyle listens to the song, it helps him process whatever's happening spiritually that's manifesting in as this nightmare, and helps him turn it to the other side as a dream.
So Brett, can we just back up for a second? For anybody going, like, this sounds really cool, but I don't really actually know what they're talking about. What is a song of the soul? What is it? And you talked a little bit about what inspired this project, but what is it and what inspired it?
Okay, yeah. So I never have a short answer, right? So I'm going to start in this place. My cosmology, and some of this was born out of, in 2014, I took a group of folks to see a lunar eclipse. And the timing of the eclipse was different, as reported by the astronomers, than it was on my astrology software. And I couldn't figure that out. It was off by like half an hour or something. And I finally realized why. And it's because most of our charts, unless you have a software that allows you to pick a different setting that most astrologers say don't utilize, we measure where the planets are in the signs, not from the surface of the earth, where we live and breathe and witness these heavenly happenings, but rather from the center of the earth. So not what's called topocentric, but geocentric. And everyone's like, why is he saying this? How's this an answer to that question? Because I had to contemplate, wait, that feels really wrong. Like I'm up here, I'm born up here. But where I found my way to is, oh, what that means is this. The moment, the astrological moment, the astronomical moment, the specific unique geometry of the planets arranged about Earth, about the heart of Earth, that specific geometry that will never repeat of the above, we literally measure in the below, as above, so below. Like we measure not from the surface, but rather from the heart of Earth, because that's the place where we are all one in every moment forever. You're in Hawaii, I'm in California. When Erik comes on, he's in Mexico City. We can do this and we're pointing to a different star. But if we come down through our spines, we will meet in the heart of Gaia, where we are always connected. And so there's this wholeness in that, right? And so then the image was really clear. It's like, there's this harmony of the heavenly spheres happening there. So my image now is that every planet has a specific instrument, like with a specific timbre, specific tone, its own voice. The bassoon is a different thing than the trumpet, And together in the moment of your birth, these instruments are arranged in such a way that in my cosmology, they play the note of the sign in which they reside. So like right now we have the Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto instruments all playing Capricorn, right? While Mars is playing Aries and the whole thing. And that celestial symphony surrounding Earth is playing this heavenly chord that resonates in her heart, right? And then she broadcasts her experience, the global experience, the whole solar system experience from Earth's ears to all of her beings at once.
Whoa.
Right. So we have an eclipse coming, and you have to be in southern Chile or Argentina if you want to be on Earth and witness the eclipse in its totality. But I like to say, just because you don't see it doesn't mean you don't be it. And actually, I've led now eclipse ceremonies on the opposite side of Earth from where you would experience the eclipse. But what we do is we tune into the center, right? Because this syzygy, this alignment of the three things, spirit, soul, and matter, sun, moon, and earth, we as earthlings are experiencing in Earth's heart, right? So it's something else to see the eclipse. And it's something else, I love teaching astrolocality, as you know, I did it for the inner circle this year. But, it's the same moment for you in Hawaii as it is for me in California, as it is for Erik in Mexico right now. So that same moment, it's the same chord, but where you are on the surface of Earth, we'll see that same moment, that same geometry, that same celestial harmony expressed in a different way with the planets and the houses, which are a matter of the particular surface location, as is culture, language, cuisine, and that whole trip, right? So a lot of this was born of me wanting to offer an embodied sensual experience of astrology, and then me kind of breaking through some of my assumptions about what astrology is and how it works, simply by seeing where we measure it from, learning a little bit more about the as above, so below. And then so much of my own particular study over the last few years has brought me into the sacred sciences known as the quadrivium, where they are four, number itself, number in time and space, which is astronomy. And the gateways there are twofold. One is number in space itself, which is geometry. So this is the zodiac. And number in time, which is musical harmony. And the apt metaphor here is, just as astronomy is the quantity of the heavenly happenings, Saturn and Jupiter will line on December 21st, like you can put a ruler to it, right? But how that dances you versus how that it dances me, that's quality, right? And so, I can grab a keyboard and right, and it's like how that moves you. I mean, that's noise until it tickles your ears, and then it becomes sound. That's quantity and quality. And this is something I've utilized in sessions. Sometimes I was like drilling with the words, and it felt like that, and just wasn't getting to the story that I could really clearly see in the nativity in the chart. And I've got this music map. So if it's not happening, so, I'll just kind of like, oh, all right, well, we're not really getting there. So how about, and I'll just play that sound. That's a grand cross that you just heard. In music, we call it a fully diminished seventh chord. And suddenly the story comes out. Right? People are a little shocked, like, why did that guy just grab that weird keyboard? What is that thing? What is that weird sound? Oh my gosh. And then because we're already in ceremony, we're already in the moment, it's the thing that just kind of shakes, the last, mental, really like mental defenses. And now our hearts are open, right? And so the body hosts the heart. So if we really want to speak to the heart, we've got to speak to the body. And it's hard to do that with words and language and math and aspects and orbs and stuff like that.
Brett, the most amazing synchronicity happened before we went live today. I had like 20 minutes and I was like, maybe I'll just tune in and see if there's anything new from Cryon. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Cryon, but Cryon's come into my life in 2020. Someone passed it to me and I was like, whoa, this is so interesting. It's essentially, this might sound weird to some of you and it won't sound weird to a lot of you, but it's channeled messages from an electromagnetic field called Cryon. All right. And basically I tuned in to the one episode in which they're talking about music and sound and resonance, and how sound and resonance, it affects us at a cellular level in a way that words don't normally do. And so when we come into resonance with someone, it's like literally, or like you said, how I experience that music is different than how someone else did. It's how does it resonate with you? How does it resonate with your cells? And so the quote that they said, though, that I was just like, are you serious? I'm about to go on talking about the song of your soul and how we can make your astrology chart, which is what? Light. What is astrology? It's the language of light. How we can literally make your astrology chart at the moment of your birth come to life in music. And this was the quote that I just went, oh my God. The quote is, when we transition, meaning when we die, when we transition, we hear our name sung in light. When we transition, we hear our name sung in light. So I was thinking, how amazing that we can do this before we transition. Why not just start to hear that song of our soul now? We don't have to wait until we die. And so it's just the perfect timing to bring this element of astrology. Again, we've been talking about the music of the spheres and the hum of the chart all year long. It's been something that several of you astrologers, you and Rick Levine especially, really helping us to understand that they're not just like rocks out there. There is a harmony that is actually created in the movement of the heavens, and that we are connected to that. And our music is with their music, and we dance in a pattern, and that pattern changes throughout our life. And so let's talk.
Let me do a few things in response to that. Amanda.
Okay.
You said so much and it's brilliant. And yeah, I mean, one thing we were all talking about in the forecast event, like you're at Astrology Hub gearing up for this week, for the one for 2020, one of the common themes was like, stay human.
Yes.
Like become more human.
Yes.
And music helps us have presence, rhythm, dance, Rick, who I love so much, Rick's a great musician. Rick's a great flute player, like very soulful flute player. And, in the day, you wouldn't study astrology without first studying music, because you have to understand harmony. Like when we're talking about Mars applying to square Saturn, Saturn squaring Uranus next year, the whole thing, like this is harmony. It's frequency, right? And so there's many ways that we could approach this idea of like creating a harmonic expression of a moment now from a planetary perspective. And I have to say, like, the way that I'm doing it is actually very basic. It's very simple. So when you're speaking about light language, I mean, light, as we know, just like sound, is of the electromagnetic spectrum, right? And so, like there are NASA sites where you can go listen to what Jupiter sounds like, which is super cool, right? That's not what I'm doing. But I think we should. I think it's great. And in fact, I mean, this thing that we're up to, it's been done in many different ways throughout time. I, in a sense, first got hip to it through a friend who's called Ezra Sanzer Bell, who's a really cool cat. And he did a book called Astro Music with a K, because he was studying the magical tradition. And there's a way that at least the OTO, which is like Crowley's crew, and the Rosicrucians seem to have been doing this over time. I'm one of these people who is a little freaked out by Crowley. But my system is very similar to Ezra's, where he took what's called a chromatic map. I'll show you what that is in just a moment. He starts it in a different place. He aligns the note C. Well, I shouldn't say he, this tradition aligns the note C to Aries. I align it to Cancer. In some senses, harmony is relative, right? It's like, it's more about like we are both taking the intervals between signs, how many signs one is from another, and mapping that to notes, right? So I was loving this. Yesterday was 12-7, or some people will write that 7-12. It's really deep in our tradition. So in astronomy, it's the 7 visible planets, or the planetas, the wanderers, which include the luminaries, and the 12 signs. Geometrically, it's called the seed of life when we stitched 7 circles to create 2 6-petaled flowers. Musically, and it's not just some construction, musically in an octave, oct meaning 8, we have 7 notes in what's called the diatonic scale. And then the octave. So most people would be familiar with that sound. And we have 12 notes in what's called the chromatic scale. So what I'm doing is just a very simple chromatic map where I'm saying, okay, Cancer is C, and the next sign is the next note. So Leo is C sharp. And here's neighboring signs, which traditionally are said to be in aversion, and you can hear it. And then, this would be the sextile and the square. So listen to square becoming a trine, which is exactly how we teach it, because it's what it does.
Tension, resolution, yeah.
Right, and in this system that Ezra, I learned about in his book, they apply notes to the signs as I do in my system, but they also apply notes to the planets. And it creates more of an intricate system where it's going to be a little bit more derived or like mathematical. Like there's no way I could feed what I do into a computer and get the same thing out twice in a row. Like it's just not going to happen. My model is completely dependent upon a genius musician. And thank golly, I've got one. And so I'm going to show the system. We'll do a little example. Maybe we can bring Erik on, but I just want to say a couple of things about the legend, the origin of this project itself. Okay. So Erik Deutsch, who you'll meet here in a moment, he's just a dear brother of mine. We started as bandmates. We were 11th house, became entangled friends, 7th house, and now we're brothers, 3rd house. Like, no, like I can literally trace my experience with Erik in that geeky astrological way. And it's real. We toured together for many years and kind of grew up together in the process. We started playing in a band when we were 20 and 19 years old, I think, and toured around. It was a time of growing up and we were playing really great and very experimental music. So one of Erik's friends from his youth, we met at Ann Arbor, where he was going to music school, and he came and listened to our band, and he brought us these series of pictures that he drew as a composition musically, and we each got our own picture, and we just had to play what the picture was about. And there was some minimal direction on it, right? But it was one of my introductions to what in jazz we might call like boundaried free jazz. Like, so free jazz, but with some game, some rules, some like approach, which is just fun. And Erik's done this in a lot of different ways in New York, where he lived for a long time. And maybe he can talk about that some. But Erik, I mean, you'll just know the moment you hear his music. I mean, he's just a master. He was that way when he was a teenager. When I first heard him play, I mean, just everybody was just like, what? And he's gotten better and better and better because he's a very devoted and dedicated musician. He's a very heart-centered man, but he's also a very explorative. He's a seeker. And you can hear it in his music. And so when I was young in astrology, I just expected that I'm going to see all these earth signs, right? Like the body, sensuality in musicians' charts. But I'll see a lot of passion, and I'll see a lot of like adventure, and then a lot of freedom in the musicians that I love. And we see this in Erik's chart. So Erik also became, I think, the just obvious answer for when I asked myself, is there a musician who could help me answer this call? From the moment I first heard him play and developing as I've heard him play thousands of times, he used to play every night. But also when my first niece was born, Whitney, when she was born at home, my gift for my sister and for her was to get out to Colorado, where Erik was at the time, and produce a solo piano album for her to be born to, which we called the Baby Sessions. And it's just this beautiful music. I've heard thousands of times. Like my family, we've heard it so much. It's so good. And Erik took some of his original compositions and compositions of friends and of some like famous covers that he just played these gentle. And when I say produced it, I mean, I'm in like the booth in this studio in Denver. And he's like, how was that? I'm like, great. This next one, hey, like take a walk in the woods, man. And the thing is, he doesn't say, what are you talking about? He's like, all right. And he walks in the woods on the next song, right? And so that's really important because what he gets from me is a set of notes, and I'll show you how I create that. And then he gets a passage where it's, I'll use this word, I call it a prayer based upon somebody's birth chart. And I usually don't say you were and you will. I'm just like we, because I see that we each in our own way, as the ray grows, the whole circle grows, and that's what we're here for. Right. And so when I tune into a chart, it's always like, okay, how is spirit growing through this beautiful being? Right. And I have my own approach to how I do a chart. And of course we all do. Right. So that's reflected in this musical approach as well. But before I get into that, we'll bring Erik on. I'll just say one more thing. Like the origin for this is I got a call asking for a chart for a baby. And it was a couple of women who were amazing that I did a chart for their first, who ended up being twins. And so they called back and they said, like we're expecting, or sorry, we just had a girl. We have a girl just came in, and what you did for our boys, they were like 4 at this point, has completely shifted, especially in the hard times when there's tantrums or there's needs we can't understand. It was exactly what you want to hear when you do a reading for a baby. But the issue is you don't do a reading for the baby. You do a reading for the child's parents so they can help, tend to that child's talents, have some, forewarning about expected challenges. But, I'm looking at a chart and I'm getting into relationship dynamics, and it's like it's already sitting with an adult. It's already this weird thing to get into a chart, But for a baby at this time, I was really kind of struggling philosophically with what it is to be an astrologer, and who am I to say anything about who somebody else is. I was like in that zone. I taste that place often. I think we all should, actually. And so at this point, I was like, I don't want to do a reading for this baby's parents. And her name was Melody.
Oh,
I want to do a reading for Melody, right? So I was like, oh, yeah, it's time to, like, I've been romancing this idea of creating soul songs for a long time. I just need the right musician to do it. And fortunately, at the time, I mean, Erik, he's toured with Nora Jones and, Citizen Cope and Leftover Sam and a bunch of amazing jazz heroes of mine that many people won't have heard of. Charlie Hunter. He had just, before the nutty things of this year happened, just joined the Dixie Chicks, right? So he was about to go do the big arena. So it was hard to catch Erik with some time on his hands. He's busy teaching music and playing with a million people, and he's a great composer. But at this time, we had like a little window, and he said, let's do it. And it was amazing, right? And I mean, the call that I got from these women, and how they were describing this baby's experience when they put this music on, it's just like, I'm like, just some crying. So I was like, okay, cool, we got to do this, right? And so I think we're coming close to 100 now. And last year we did a bunch for the solstice, for the holiday season, and that's the plan right now. And that, I have a lot of appreciation and gratitude for you giving us this opportunity to speak to Astrology Hub's audience and turn them on to the possibility of getting a soul song. So, all right, I think we've heard enough of me. Amanda, maybe we can bring Erik on. And
yes. Well, as Erik's coming on, if you are interested, and we can bring Erik on, please, Jamie. Yes, there he is. But just in case you're interested right now, so that they have 62 soul songs left. And you have to place your order before December 18th, as long as, I mean, it's first come, first serve. So I told them before we went live, I'm like, please reserve 4 for me. I know I want to do 4. So maybe that brings it down to 58. But but if you know you would want one, you can go to astrologyhub.com/song of the soul. Is that right? Song of the Soul.
Yeah, and it's right on the homepage right now at astrologyhub.com, and you can hear a sample there, and you can also hear a sample.
You're going to hear a sample here too. Yeah. So, but for me, this is just a pure, like, how could I not introduce this to our community? Like, this feels, for the 60 lucky people, who however many people that are going to get to participate in this, it's a way for our love of astrology to come to life in a whole nother way. It's a way for us to gift our love of astrology to other people in our lives who may or may not share the love of astrology that we have, but it's a place where we can meet. Everybody loves beautiful, amazing music, and to have your own composition of your chart, like your music, to be able to listen to for the rest of your life. I was like, okay, Brett, yes, we will definitely share this with the audience. No question.
Right. Like, I've gifted my mom like a reading with one of my favorite astrologers before. For her, that's not necessarily a gift.
Right.
Or you can hand somebody a printout. I feel like, I don't know that about me. Are you serious? Right. But it's like, hey, here's a song simply based upon the alignment of the planets in the moment of your birth, an alignment that is uniquely you, one that will never repeat. This is your song. Right. And the way that Erik plays, it's guaranteed to just be beautiful with some tension, right? And hopefully that's going to invoke exploration without just challenging or naming, you know what I mean? But so it's just, for me, it's like, let me give you this song instead of this thing where you're going to be like, oh, thanks, but no thanks, right?
Totally. My 12 and 9-year-old daughters, right when you were talking about it, Brett, when you were visiting, they were like, Mama, I want one. I want one. So of course, don't tell them. I'm going to surprise them with one. So Erik, it's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's been great listening to Gemini Brett talk. He's, this is my oldest friend, but he's so full of wisdom. And every time I get a chance to hear him speak, it's a joy, and it's great to meet you. And I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to share our songs with your community.
Absolutely. Okay. So is there anything you want to start with? Erik, is there anything else you want to add about your inspiration for doing it or your process while you're doing it?
Well, yeah, sure. I'll just say a little bit about it. And I think that, number one, one of my oldest and dearest friends, Brett, that we had played so much music and worked together for so long, but that collaboration musically kind of stopped for about 10 years. We did it in our 20s, late teens and 20s, and then we didn't have that connection as much anymore. So this was a wonderful way to reconnect with one of my closest friends in a creative way. So that's first and foremost. I was like, of course I want to do this with you. My wife is very involved with astrology and has taught me a lot about astrology, and so is Brett, of course. So it's a wonderful opportunity to intersect these different parts of my life, And I think a lot of times in music, people music is what you do for a job. Maybe you depending on what kind of musician you are, you go on stage, you play big shows, you play little shows, you teach, whatever it is, it doesn't always intersect. I feel fortunate that in my life, the variety of musical endeavors and opportunities that I've seen and I've experienced each of them in their own way intersects differently in my life. And I think that being able to be here in Mexico City, where I live now, to record these songs on this piano with my wife, Victoria, usually engineering, and saying, okay, rolling. And so she's in the other room, which is really sweet. And so she really enjoys it. She's got the headphones on and got her eyes closed and listens to every song. And so it's kind of it's a family experience, and the experience of performing someone's chart or creating a song for someone's chart is special. It's unique to me because like Brett said, I have done a lot of improvisation in my career. I've studied free improvisation with a master teacher, Art Landy. I studied with him for many years, and it's one of his strengths as a teacher and musician. And improvisation with parameters, like Brett spoke about, has always been fun and challenging in a cool way. And I always tell my students, like, it's hard to just say to someone, create, just create, and then just stand back and like wait for something good to happen. It's a lot easier if you say, okay, create something that is like this, or that so just to give a little bit of a guide, a little bit of guidance. And improvisation is no different in that way. That I think most things in life work like that. So in any case, to see a chart, and I like to look at the person's name, look at when they were born, look at where they were born. I'm really into, as a musician, very into travel. I take pride in knowing something about, everywhere, a little bit of something about everywhere. That's how I like to be. So I really get into like imagining, something about them right away, just from that. And then of course, Brett guides me with aspects in the chart that are worthy of note, that we should focus on, pay attention to. And then I just, from there, I get down to the process of just using the notes that match with the charts to make a song. And that's a challenge in itself. And thinking, how can I use this somewhat limited palette of notes to create something beautiful, or something meaningful, or something that's nice to listen to, a good piece of music, And it's a great challenge. 12 minutes is a long improvisation, I'll tell you that. When he first told me 12, I was like, are you sure? We don't want this to be like 6?
There's Brett with his numbers.
Yeah. But
gotta be 12.
it's actually like, my wife is a big meditator. I'm not, but she always says, when you improvise and play piano, that's when you meditate. And I think I've kind of been doing that for so long that it's kind of my meditative space. So I've really found joy and comfort in the process of sitting in this room at night, always, because I only like to record at night because it's quieter, because it's my house. It's not a recording studio, and always at night with the lights down, sometimes with a puppy under the piano, and just to get into that space and do that 12-minute piece. And I don't know, I feel emotional right now even talking about it. But it really is, it's special, and I've just been happy to have the opportunity, and it's just gotten better and better and more rewarding for me the more we've done.
Wow, that is so cool. Thank you for making that process come to life for us, because it makes it even richer and deeper when we receive the music from you, knowing that there is such a reverence that you bring to the process, that it actually is good for you. It's like, it feels good for you. It's nurturing you on some level. It's connecting you to something bigger. It's connecting you to your wife and your puppy, and all of it. It makes it feel so real, and I can feel that in my heart. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Man, I gotta find out about this puppy, because that's news to me. But I think that's for another time. I want to maybe show y'all a bit of the process with Erik here. And one thing you might have heard him say is to get to record on this piano, right? So you can see the love for that instrument. Erik, let's hear just something about that piano.
Okay. I bought this piano. My father bought it for me very generously when I moved to New York in 2005. It's a 1981 Steinway Grand Model M. And I'm very proud and very happy that I found a way to get it here from New York City to Mexico. So let's take a listen.
And our connection sounds good, Amanda. We've tried to do this live a few times, and sometimes we've had some hiccups. So I created a remedy just in case that would go down, that we're going to visit at the end here. But Erik's like such a master musician that it's going to be hard maybe for him to describe how difficult what I ask him to do is. Because when he just sat and let his hands dance as they do, they didn't have any limitations. So one of the most significant parameters from the beginning for each of these soul songs is it's limited to the signs that hosted planets at the time of the chart that we're harmonizing, right? So one dream would be down the road for a chart like this moment now, or I'll use an example chart here of the coming great conjunction. And I love, Eric, that the piano's from 1981, because there was an alignment of Jupiter and Saturn in 1981, twice in the sign of Libra, which is a key sign for us too. Anyway, so this is the music map that I'm utilizing. And it's basically, there's 12 keys in an octave from a Western harmonic perspective, or 12 tones in an octave. And I link C with Cancer. It's the key with no flats and no sharps. It just feels like the C's from which we come. And in the English language, it's fun that Cancer is C and Aries is A, right? And so one of my initial reactions to this other system I had seen, which is the same system, just starting in a different place, was that I feel Aries needs some sharps. It's just, and then the way that these particular keys speak to these different signs, for me, it works. And again, in a sense, like, harmony's relative. Whether I play a square between two signs and one place in the piano or another place in the piano, if we're using this chromatic map, and there's other ways to map this too, in a sense, it's going to show up as what we call a minor third. I'm not going to speak too much music harmony here, but like, if we have Aries and Capricorn, actually, Eric, could you play A and F sharp together, please? Just play that minor third.
A and F sharp?
Yeah. And then can you resolve from A, F sharp to A, F? Right, so this is like that square to a trine, and that's alive in this coming great conjunction chart. Okay, so this is the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction coming to a theater called You very soon, and it features a whole bunch of planets, Mercury, Sun, and Pluto, all in Capricorn. So ideally, I would create a set of rules that would say, okay, Eric, maybe you get 3 octaves of this note Capricorn, which for us is either F sharp or G flat, depending on which key we're playing in. And we've got more than one being here in Sagittarius, and the meetings in Aquarius. And so shouldn't we have different notes, or maybe even different instruments for Jupiter and Saturn, right? There's like there's a whole venue of places we can go to kind of make this tighter, I guess. But I also don't want to lay such a confining like trip. I'm having a hard time with my language today, on the musician, that there's no room for spirit, right? Like, that's imperative for me. And there's only so many musicians I know. I'm fortunate enough to know great musicians, but Erik is the one where I can just trust to say, okay, here's this thing, bring it through. Just as you said, Cryon's not this cat who's speaking for this electromagnetic beings, right? It's channeling through. Erik might not utilize this word on his bio, but I have seen him channel the moment musically before many times, right? And in my current vocabulary, like, that's what's going on in free music. That's a thing that, by the way, David Cochran in an Astrology Hub teaching some years ago spoke about, in the nature of Uranus, which I loved. Okay, so Uranus is here in Taurus, which in our map is the B flat. Mars is in Aries, the moon and Neptune in Pisces. Aries is the A, and Pisces is the A flat or the G sharp, depending on what key we're playing in, G flat, F. And you'll see in this particular chart, and notice that I'm not bringing in asteroids or Black Moon Lilith. I mean, I could bring in enough asteroids on every chart that we would just have all 12 signs aligned, because this is what this system's hanging on its hat on, is signs. In my general cosmology, like, I'm a weirdo, I believe that the pyramid builders were utilizing an earth energy that is the same field that creates our true experience of correspondences based upon planetary alignments at the time of birth. I think what we are experiencing in our community, knowing that astrology, I don't know how it works, but we know it's a thing. I think that there is a crystal core of the earth, and every planet that is hexagonal, it has 6 flats and 6 points, and that is the zodiac. And so kind of like that Simon game, where you have the 4 colors and the 4 notes, this is a 12 colored or a 12 note spectrum. And so this system in many regards is very simple, where the first thing I give Erik is a limited palette of notes that he's allowed to play based upon which signs are occupied. And he's encouraged first to accent the notes of the ascendant and the visible planets. So Erik, I actually wrote these in the chat on Zoom there if you want to read them, but I could also just speak it to you. But you can see for this chart, and these come up, like there's nothing from Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. And the nodes aren't visible, right? So first I'm going to speak visible notes. Now I start this from the ascendant. So here I'm looking at an Aquarius ascendant. That's what's rising in California. But instead I'm going to go, and this addresses like, what if somebody doesn't know their birth time? So my system is very dependent on the rising sign. I don't need it as an astrologer. I really don't need it here, but I'm going to choose one and I'm going to let the chart guide that for me. And it's not going to be New York. It's going to be somewhere on Earth where Taurus was rising. And I actually don't even have to show that. I guess I could show it this way. The reason why I'm using a Taurus rising chart for this specific happening of Jupiter conjoining Saturn is because last time that happened, they aligned in the sign of Taurus, right? So I see what's happened. This is the 2000 conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn and Taurus. And one of the ways I work with planetary cycles is like, okay, where did they last meet? I'm going to treat that as like a global ascendant for their dance to come, right? For Jupiter and Saturn, it's a 20-year thing that I kind of see rooted in Taurus, and then with their coming Aquarius conjunction, I see them shifting. And so there is this New York chart where, is this it? There, where Taurus is rising at the time. So this is what, Erik, I sent you some notes. Like I'm going to start with B flat, but then I'm going all the way to F because all of these signs are unoccupied. So Erik, these are the palette notes, okay? B flat, F.
Should I play them now?
Yeah, let's hear them one at a time maybe. So B flat's the ascendant.
I have the chart in front of me too.
Okay, cool. All right, so B flat, F, G flat, G, A flat, and A. And then with invisible planets, I mean, here we see Neptune, moon's already doing Pisces. Uranus, well, the ascendant's already in Taurus. Pluto, well, Mercury and the sun are already doing Capricorn. That's one of the limitations of this system. And I'll bring in the node. And so Erik, you also get the B.
The B?
Yep.
I see it, okay.
But he's not allowed to play C, D flat, D, E flat, or E. And it takes a heck of a musician to create music limited there. Okay, so one thing he gets from me is just that palette of notes. It's like, listen, buddy, this is all you got, right? You're not allowed to go to these other places, right? And so all your go-to moves, like this is where I am at musically. We play in a key and I've got all these things I can do. Like Erik's busted through that place a long time ago, but like I would just crumble with those kinds of limits. Like I can do it for a little while, you know, but it really takes a masterful musician. And then I'll offer things to him based upon significant aspect structures that I see in the chart. And so I'll actually name them. Like one that I wrote the other day was, I said this earlier, but a feather bed for a troubled head. And so Erik gets that, you know, it's like, that's like, hey, take a walk in the woods, right? It's like, what are you going to do with that? Well, he does something with that and I can hear it. And that will be accompanied for the whoever gets these soul songs. They're going to see from me notes that will say things like Mars square Pluto, to Mars trine South Node. And I would write something about, like the tensions of the power of individuating from the culture, right, requires the medicine of truth, right? Something like that based upon a delineation I'm hearing in the chart. And so Erik gets a few of these different shapes. He also gets a chord progression, a suggested progression, because again, I want him to be free to bring this energy through. So I start with the moon. And so he would start in the key of A flat. And then I go to the moon reflecting sun. So he goes to the sun here in G flat, referencing the moon in A flat, and that brings in this phase. And then we go to the key of the sun, and that's his like root place while he goes on these journeys through these 3 different aspect groups and games of tension and release that I offer to him based upon the person's chart or the moment's chart. And then he'll resolve to the ascendant, still reflecting the sunlight. So that gives us the time of day with the sun in the house, right? And then we resolve to the ascendant. And from a classical point of view, Venus is said to be the steersman of the Taurus direction. And so he'll kind of do Taurus, which in our map is B flat, while referencing Venus in F, right? And so I was a little worried. I mean, now we have this great connection. I feel like maybe we should do this, but I was a little worried that what would happen to us before when we've tried this would happen, that the internet just wouldn't work. And so what I did instead is I sent Erik this chart for him to create a 12-minute song. And then I created a music video actually with photos that I've taken mostly in Maui, Amanda, because surprise, the song we're about to hear is not the song for the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, but it's your song. Right.
What?
And
Oh my God.
Magical Maui astro moments that I've experienced personally. And I create a video because ideally I would love for you to stay on and so people can experience your reaction. But I thought that was mean to ask for. So I think what we should do is close our cameras and our mics down, and I'll play this 12-minute song so people can experience the magic of the song of the soul. All of you know Amanda. See if you hear some of what you know her to be in this beautiful music, and we'll check in after. Does that sound okay?
Oh, I can't talk, but yes. Sounds great. Wow.
Here we go. We're going to start, by the way, with a couple Maui moonbows, which is when a big moon creates a rainbow of the night. So these are actually stars that
Let me just say, if anyone can't stay, it's astrologyhub.com/song of the soul. If you're interested in getting one for someone, yourself, for the holiday season. So it's astrologyhub.com/song of the soul. Okay, I'll stop talking.
For those of you who can stay, we'll see you on the other side. So Amanda, I invite you to close your eyes or stand and dance or watch these visuals if you want. I, of course, will send this video to you so you can see it as many times as you want. We'll see you on the other side. It's a powerful song, Amanda. You're speechless.
No, wow. I've just been sitting here bawling. So that's a good sign. Whew, whoa. Whoa. It's really hard. It's like overwhelming how much that brings up, in such a beautiful way. I mean, I even heard like remnants, like small bits of songs that remind me like of my childhood. Like pieces from like a Peter Cater song, or my mom would always play George Winston in the house growing up, and there would just be like one little thing you would do that was like remnant of that, and it just was like, and then that like really intense period, I mean, it was just, yes.
I hope that's okay, right? Typically, I'd want to ask consent to do something like this.
Well, you know what? Honestly, it was one of the nicest gifts I've ever received. I mean, that you just surprised me with that. Is like one of the 4 that I was reserving was, of course, one for myself. So that opens up one for all of you. But that was just so touching, and I could listen to it again and again. And for any of you listening on the podcast, the visuals, Brett.
Yeah.
Your photography of the sky. It's like, that's my home. That's my place. That's the sky I look at every night. So I would recommend, I mean, an amazing gift to give someone would be to get the song and then to create some sort of visual slideshow like Brett just did. Maybe it's photography of you and the person throughout their life. Maybe it's that just brought it to a whole nother experiential level. At first, I couldn't look. At first, it was just, I was just sitting, like, absorbing. And then when the intense period came, I looked and it was perfect. I mean, all the moon and the ocean and everything was so perfect. Wow.
Well, I'll be sending you the video download link today. And then also, and this is what everybody gets, not a video. I got in trouble with Anna last night at 3 a.m. She's like, dude, this is why you get sick. Are you serious? Like, you got to sleep. But I wanted to I was like, and I'll just say, and I want to offer this gift to you also, Amanda, if you want to open it. Another time we can check in and I'll tell you kind of why I started with different images and why I keep a hulu. And I know places on the island that are special to you. And the only image I took that was not on Maui was of that moon. If you saw it spinning, that was during the penumbral lunar eclipse in Gemini the other
all
night.
Of it was so
cool.
Like
it had to happen. So, yeah, right. So folks won't be receiving a video. I would never sleep.
You could create that though. That would be so meaningful to do for the person.
Create that with pictures of you and the loved one, or of them, or special places to them. And yeah, I mean, I've been very purposefully and diligently utilizing image to support this intention to convey the cosmic wisdom, not only through brain stuff, but the visuals and the music. When I started speaking, I would always have live musicians play, because it offers this bed where now you can rest and receive rather than calculate. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I will send you that video, and then I'll send you what everybody gets if you order a Song of the Soul, which is a high quality wave file, which is just the highest quality audio file, and then also an MP3, so it's kind of easier to put on the phones and stuff. And then my production notes, which is what Erik receives, which is your chart, and then the music map, and then where all of your points and planets map to the notes in our map, and then a page of notes around, kind of themed and named and playfully titled, and probably some challenging words around some of the aspects and the tensions and releases. And then this paragraph that for me conveys how I tune into the song of your soul, to get to know how your growth is here to help us all grow. So Amanda, another gift I'd love to offer for you, if you'd like, is follow up with me and we can watch that video together, and I'll tell you some of the things I was receiving based upon your chart. Like, I was really encouraged to play with time and like rewind and use time as rhythm in places, which I've never really done in video stuff. So it was kind of a cool way where I felt your song and therefore your soul were like teaching me how to engage with the mysteries of the heavens last night. So thank you. Wow. And Erik, amazing once again, every time. You're incredible, man. Thank you.
Amazing, Erik. Amazing. It's just, it is so touching. I can say now as an official receiver of this gift, it is something that I will never forget receiving. It's just.
I'm so glad we did it. That was such a great idea from Brett. Thanks so much for having us. It was a pleasure to get to know you in that way by playing your chart and now to meet you today. So that's
wow.
Really
incredible.
But I also want to extend this to people. Not only will you be creating a gift for yourself or your loved one that will unwrap you eternally, like a good book, this song will sound different every time, as your chart should too. But you'll also be supporting a musician in a time where he was meant to be on arena tour. And that's obviously not happening because of the nuts ways of 2020, and supporting this devotion of Astrology Hub to disseminate cosmic consciousness in any way we can. And also my devotion to get out of my own mind and find ways where I can convey through image, through sound, through whatever it may be, the wisdom of the heavenly harmonies that hopefully you can feel in your body.
Oh, beautiful. So a few ideas that you shared today. There was lovers at the time they met. That is so cool. There's a baby that's, a child or a baby being born. There's your own chart. There's the chart of your mother. There's so many different ways that you could gift this.
Yeah, we did this year. We did a solar return chart for somebody that we did a song for last year. He said every year he's going to do his solar return moment.
Cool.
We can also do relationship charts, either midpoint charts, or which is called the composite chart, or Davison charts, which I love because you take two people and then you calculate a chart for the moment of time exactly between their two birth moments and the place on earth exactly between their two birthplaces. Wow. And so that's a really lovely chart. Like anything we can do in astrology, we can find a way to do it musically.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, you guys. It has been such a pleasure, just a huge surprise for me. I was already excited enough just to introduce you to our community and then to receive that gift. Thank you so much. And for any of you interested in doing this, we have what do we say? We have 59 left. And you have until we've sold them out. So if you are really interested in doing this, I would highly encourage you to do it soon. That would also give you some time to put some visuals together if you want to do that for the person you're gifting. And but the definite cutoff, like if we still have some left, the definite cutoff is December 18th. That will
and if there's
that's amazing.
And it won't be 60. But yeah, we're devoted to this. We both have a lot going on otherwise, but we really want to help you offer this as a gift. And Amanda, thank you, and thank Astrology Hub so much from both of us for this opportunity to give this gift and to share the way that we're approaching the Song of the Soul. It really is it's one of my favorite things of many things that I get to do in service of the goddess astrology. And I really am so grateful for you hosting that. Thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and certainly aligned with our mission as well. So thank you very much. Okay, so everybody, astrologyhub.com/song of the soul, astrologyhub.com/song of the soul. Thanks, you guys. This has been such a treat. I hope you loved it. Everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning into this special edition episode today. Thank you for being a part of our community, and thank you as always for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode.